On this day in Tudor history, the 12th of November 1555, Queen Mary I's Parliament officially brought England back into the Catholic fold. After more than 2 decades of religious upheaval, Parliament passed the Second Statute of Repeal, restoring papal authority in England and reuniting the kingdom with Rome. It was another huge milestone in Mary's lifelong mission to undo her father's and half-brother's reforms and to heal what she saw as a broken relationship between England and the true church. This act was passed in the names of Mary and her husband King Philip of Spain, symbolising England's renewed alliance with Catholic Europe. Now, this wasn't Mary's first step towards restoration. Shortly after coming to the throne in 1553, her first parliament had passed what's known as the First Statute of Repeal. That act swept away all of the Protestant legislation introduced under Edward VI, the Book of Common Prayer, the English liturgy, and the reforms of men like Archbishop Cranmer and the Dukes of Somerset and Northumberland. Essentially, it tried to turn back the clock to the end of Henry VIII's reign before Edward's Protestant wave really took hold. But Mary wasn't done yet. 2 years later, in 1555, her government went further, much further. The Second Statute of Repeal abolished every piece of legislation that had been passed against the papacy since 1529, the year Cardinal Wolsey fell from power and Henry VIII set about his great matter. Think about that, 26 years of reform swept away with one act. It was as if the entire English Reformation, Henry VIII's break with Rome, his supremacy, the dissolution of the monasteries, and all the changes that followed, had never happened. The aim was simple, if bold: to reunite England fully with the authority of the Pope and restore the old faith. But here's where it gets interesting. Even as the act reasserted papal supremacy, Mary herself kept the title Supreme Head of the Church, a title her father had claimed in 1534. Why would a Catholic queen retain such a Protestant-sounding title? It's a fascinating detail and probably a reflection of Mary's pragmatism. She was deeply devout, but she was also a ruler. Keeping that title helped reinforce her authority as monarch, especially at a time when female rule was still viewed with suspicion. So perhaps it was less about theology and more about reminding everyone who was in charge. Another reason the act succeeded politically was because it didn't threaten the interests of the powerful. Many nobles and gentry had gained land and wealth during the dissolution of the monasteries, when Henry VIII had closed the religious houses and sold off their property. If Mary had tried to reclaim those lands for the church, she'd have faced enormous resistance and perhaps even rebellion. But the 1555 Act carefully avoided that. It reassured the new landowners that their estates were safe, even as England spiritually rejoined Rome. It was a delicate balance between faith and politics, and Mary managed it, at least for a time. For the next 3 years, England was officially Catholic again. Church services returned to Latin, Protestant clergy were removed, and reconciliation with Rome was complete. But, as we know, that restoration didn't last. When Mary died in 1558, her Protestant half-sister Elizabeth I took the throne, and everything changed again. Elizabeth's Act of Uniformity in 1559 effectively wiped away Mary's work, re-establishing Protestantism as the religion of the realm. England's pendulum swung yet again, proof, if ever we needed it, of just how unstable and divided the 16th century truly was. So, on this day in 1555, Mary I achieved what she'd long dreamt of, bringing England home to the Catholic Church. But that triumph was fragile. Within 3 years of her death, it would all be undone, and England would follow a new religious path that would shape its destiny for centuries to come. History often paints Mary's reign in flames and martyrs, but on this day it's worth remembering her for what she truly was. A queen trying with all her heart to put her country right, according to her conscience anyway. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this look at Mary I and her restoration of Catholicism, please do give this a like, subscribe and ring the bell for more daily Tudor history. And let me know in the comments, do you think Mary's vision of unity ever had a chance? I'll see you soon. Bye bye.